Is it possible to be prepared for a surprise? Prepare for the unexpected. In this segment, distinguished Toastmasters Patti Adams show us how to prepare for impromptu questions in our club meetings and in life. Make sure you watch to the very end as Patti drops some golden nuggets on how she develops new leaders. Well, let's dive into a different topic, which is also just as or can be just as stressful, and that is the table topic or impromptu speech. Here, I am sure that majority, if not all, of our club meetings have some form, some shape of impromptu speaking to keep us on our toes. But we also know part of it is not just for fun, is that these things happen each and every day. When we're walking through our hallways, in the elevator, and our boss's boss, says, hey, Roger, how's that project going? And we know there's only 2 minutes before the elevator door reopens. What do I do with this? So first, let's go back basic. Let's put yourself in a club meeting. The table topic master have announced the question, and he or she have pointed to you, Patti. What's your thought process from hearing the question to formulating your answers and then delivering your message? What's your thought process when it comes to table topic questions?
Thank you, Roger. My thought process for table topics, from the question being asked to me formulating an idea or an answer, and then actually delivering it, is just start talking. So many times people get hung up on what the question is and they just can't move forward. I will tell you that if someone asks you a question that you absolutely know nothing about, just taking a quick 5-second pause to really think it through would help you tremendously. As you can probably tell already, I'm big on examples. And I can remember there was a time in Toastmasters when global warming was a big thing in the news, and I knew nothing about global warming. Yes, I know I should be ashamed of myself for even sharing this with the Toastmaster world. But I also learned the art of answering questions that I knew nothing about. So when they said, Patti, what is it that you want us to know about global warming? I started off by saying, global warming has been in the news everywhere. And then I ventured off and I started talking about other things. That's the beauty about Toastmasters table topics, is that a lot of people don't realize that they can actually answer the question without answering the questions. So in that particular example that I was given, I went on to talk about how globally it's warm in some places, it's cold in other places, it's freezing in other places. So I tied it in by typically not really answering the specifics of global warming, but keeping it within talking about temperature. I actually won that table topics, and I was absolutely surprised because I knew nothing about global warming. So that's just a few examples. I think that sometimes if you're asked a very simple question, say, Roger, what would be your favorite vacation destination? I think everybody had dreams, and they could probably, without little thought, answer what their favorite vacation spot would be, or what's their favorite vacation spot that's on their bucket list. The pitfalls and the most challenging ones for me are the ones that are 2 and 3 and 4 parts, because I'm a little ADHD. So I'm already thinking about next week instead of right now. So if someone asks me a question and there's 2 or 3 parts to it, and we had this in a Toastmasters meeting not too long ago, is it better to love what you do or do what you love? I did fine through the first part. And when I got to the second part, I totally forgot everything that was asked to me. Now, I could fumble through it and start answering about anything, but I think you really should stretch yourself and do the very best that you can to actually answer the question that's being asked. If you absolutely cannot, then you may want to answer with something else, but try to answer that. I was in a contest once, and the question, well, let me just be honest with you, it wasn't a question at all. It was a statement. Table topics master walks up. I am the contestant. This is what they said. Tell me a joke. talk about shock, first off, I am the worst joke teller in the world because I never even remember what the punchline is. Secondly, that's not a question. Hello? So in a sense, you should be prepared for anything and everything. The way that I grew in table topics was, if you know about the theme and the word of the day before a meeting, chances are the table topics master is going to be asking you something centered around that. So you can just start thinking of questions in your head and start answering them even before you get to the meeting. Great tip. The second thing is, always be ready to answer whatever is asked, no matter what. Don't fall into those pitfalls. I watch a lot of current events because sometimes they won't ask you anything that has to do with the theme or the word of the day. They'll ask you about climate change. But guess what? Patty's ready because she's been watching the news and she knows all about climate change. They may ask you something about the most recent Democratic debate because that's hot topics right now. And then there's that oh so good fake news. I guarantee you someone will be asking you about fake news. So even though table topics comes with some challenges, there is a way that you can pretty much win every single time. Just start talking. Back to you, Roger.
I have a suspicion that oftentimes, whether you know the topic or not, whether you are very well versed of the topic of the question or not, that oftentimes you just think enough to get started and your answer will keep rolling it out in the process of answering that question. True? That you weren't formulating, okay, I'm going to tell them 3 things. So number 1 is A, number B, and then C. You're just getting started, and then you go, okay, I got 3 things. I'll tell you later on, kind of a thing.
For a person that, let's just say, joined Toastmasters because they are very much an introvert and they are scared to death to even open their mouth, that 1 to 2 minutes can seem like eternity to them. And so even though they may have good intentions to start off well, they may not exactly end up well. But if they just keep pushing themselves and each time they come to the meeting, instead of running away from Toastmasters table topics, run to it, they'll find out that as they continue to do it, practice develops perfection. Just keep doing it. Even though you may not be the best, even though you may not win best table topic speaker, if you keep taking the initiative and keep pushing yourself, I guarantee you, you can do this too. You will get better at table topics.
With table topic, for you specifically, not necessarily what you're advocating other people to do you prefer, assuming you know the question, assuming you know the topic, it's not something that you have no clue on, do you prefer to give what I would call a serious answer, a real answer, versus a fake news answer or made up answer or the complete opposite of what you believe? What's your general preference?
My general preference would be humorous. As you can probably tell, I really enjoy having fun. I will say that I'm also a very compassionate person. So with all honesty, if someone asks me something that's a very sensitive topic, I will do my very best to answer in a very serious manner because sometimes people really want to know just how to make it through the next day. But if it's not a very sensitive topic and there's just a generalized topic, then I'm going to get people laughing because I think that when you're answering that question, if you can get someone laughing, typically they forget whatever you talked about. They don't even remember what the question was that you were asked. All they remember is that, wow, that was a lot of fun. That's my go-to method. I like to make people laugh. I like the humor.
So you're listening for the question, and the first thing that you do is you're sizing up the seriousness or the sensitivity level of that topic. And if it's something that you believe you have room to go whichever direction, then you tend to lean toward a more humorous way to get the audience to have a laugh or two as number 1, having fun of it. Number 2, it may distract them from the topic. Number 3, just more memorable in terms of, hey, I may not be a stand-up comic, but in 2 minutes, you know what? I can get you to at least have a laugh, if not a belly laugh, at something to enjoy this process. Now, like earlier, let's push this also. Let's push this further. We're outside of Toastmasters, right? We're in your regular life, professional life, relationally, with your family, the church, your in community. When being asked a question that you weren't prepared for, that you weren't thinking about, but it's not something that you can brush it off and say, I don't like that question. I'm not going to answer it. How do you go about answering it? Like, let's set up the example, right? Let's say you're working in an organization, you're working on a project, and the director met you in the hallway and just say, hey, Patti, how are you doing? Hey, how's it going? Is it hitting the budget? What's our Q1 numbers look like? Da, 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 da. You weren't quite prepared for it, but you're not completely clueless. How do you go about handling those situations?
I take a deep breath. I inhale and exhale slowly. I worked under project managers for many years. I did accounting. That's my background for 30 years. And when I tell you we had and everybody constantly coming to our desk and we had to have an answer. They absolutely did not take, I don't know, let me get back to you. They wanted answers and they wanted it now. So whether it was the project managers coming, procurement, estimators, whoever came, you had to be ready and prepared with an answer. Now, I will be honest, sometimes those answers was, let me get back to you. You would answer the part of it that you knew, that you were familiar with. And if you were not familiar with that, you would do your homework, research, et cetera, and you would get back to them. Perfect example. If someone came up and said, Patti, you were doing my billing on last week, and I noticed that you were $1 million short with what you billed that client. So now we're not going to get paid. I need to understand why we're not going to get paid. That's a very serious matter. In fact, I probably could lose my job. So I better be coming up with a quick answer. So I say, let's just say, Mr. Johnson, can you please bring me the specific project that you're speaking about and give me the numbers and let me go in and research my billing practices to make sure that they're up to par. And if I find out there was a mistake made, I will be quick to go in and rectify whatever that mistake is, including calling the client if I need to. But I will make sure that I save this particular project. Well, that's all they cared about in the end anyway. They just wanted to make sure they wasn't going to lose the money. So I reinstated that value that they had in me to do a good job. And you're right, Table Topics is phenomenal for that, because how many times have you gotten called in? In fact, get called in by a CEO and see how that feels. Your chief executive officer is calling you in and you don't have a clue of what they're going to say. That happened to me. My heart was beating so fast. What am I going to say? And as soon as he said, Patti, I literally felt like I was going to pass out. And by the way, I like to talk. So typically I'm not caught off guard. And it was something so simple as, Patti, we're going from this accounting database to this other accounting database. And I think that you would be an awesome person to train others on this. How do you feel? Is that something you think can make work? Was I excited that I was able to answer that question? Because my answer to it was, yes, I can. I can do whatever it is that you need me to do. Just let me know when you want me to get started. So very valuable, because you will get asked questions that are totally off the cuff, totally impromptu, totally extemporaneous, and you need to be quick on your feet and be able to answer. This is the best training possible in all walks of life, corporate, church, family. Even with your family, you're thinking, I don't need to learn how to communicate with my family. Oh, yes, you do. Sometimes even more so with them than with anyone else. I give it back to you, Roger.
Yes, when your kid comes up to you and tell you they wrecked the car, you need to pause for that 5 seconds before you start grabbing anything next to you.
Exactly.
But here's what I heard is that besides the technique and style, besides whether we know a whole lot about the topic or very little, the idea that I can pause, take a deep breath, and be confident, not so much specifically about the content, but confident in dealing with that situation, that 2 to 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. Even if that means I need this piece of information from you, sir, and this, the project number, specific ways that once I made those requests, I will be able to give you the feedback that in and of itself shows your not only expertise in your content, but also your confidence in handling something from left field. If somebody comes up to you and say, we are $1 million short, well, yeah, we should think about this too. We need to check this out. So this is the biggest thing that I heard what you're saying is that, yeah, we can have different style. We can lean toward being serious or lean toward being humorous. Those are more stylistic things and more matched to our own personality. But there's at least a skill set, a technique that we could do by a deep breath, silent, whatever, that, hey, I've got this under control. I can handle this question. And oftentimes that is a difference between a race or not, right? A difference between, Patti, we are switching a different accounting platform and we believe you're the person, the right person to teach and train our folks. Let me ask you this. Whether we are talking about table topic questions, how to handle these things, whether we are talking about giving or receiving evaluations, what would be one or two tips as we close that you can impart on other Toastmasters, whether they are brand new Toastmasters who just joined last week, or they are a well-seasoned triple DTM? What would be a few tips that you can give them that can help them be a better speaker and a better leader?
To be a better speaker, we'll start with that one first. Tips on being a better speaker is practice and rehearse. I will say a large portion of the time, the reason that a person gets so fearful and they sweat and all these things is not so much the nervousness of speaking in front of others, is that they were not well prepared. I am all for speaking in front of that mirror so you can see yourself. I'm all for video recording yourself and looking back at it later. I'm all for asking family members or a couple of close friends to listen to a presentation I'm going to give, because all of those things, believe it or not, you're already going to get evaluated on. And so, but if you don't practice and you don't rehearse, then you're not going to be comfortable going in front of an audience of 2, and you're definitely not going to be comfortable going in front of an audience of 25,000 or more. Practice, 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 rehearse, 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 and then, of course, dress to impress. Typically, if you dress well, you're going to do well. Even in preparation for this meeting, I already was figuring out what I was going to wear. I was figuring out what type of background to use. I put in preparation. I actually anticipated the question. You sent me some, but I anticipated some others that you would ask, so that I would already know. And if you had sent me nothing at all, I would have studied up everything I needed to know on these topics. In fact, in Toastmasters, if you go to Toastmasters International, there is actually a effective evaluation handbook that is very helpful, that kind of has some of the same tips that I've given today. So if you're struggling with trying to do a good evaluation and you didn't get this video, or you want to know more about it, go out there and check out the effective evaluation. As far as being a leader, I have to refer to a Bible verse where it says, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. We have some of the most phenomenal people within Toastmasters, but to get them to step up can always be challenging. Leaders help to create other leaders. I can watch Roger's behavior in a meeting and know that he's attentive, know that he's enjoying himself. He's there every single meeting. He's bringing up new ideas. So I would have no problem going to Roger and saying, Roger, what do you think about being our next Vice President of Education? And by the way, I'm Vice President of Education, and I will show you exactly what you need to do. And I will always be here to help you in any way. Now that's going to give Roger the confidence that, 1, Patti believed in me. 2, she said she's going to help me all the way. Now we'll take a person that's not Roger. We're going to take a person that's very quiet, but they have never been considered for anything because they've been overlooked, because they don't have that extrovert attitude. I have no problem going to, and we'll make up a name, Tammy, and saying, Tammy, I've noticed that you've grown so much in this Toastmasters club, and you really want to be a leader. I see that you exude leadership. How about coming in and being our VP PR? I've noticed you're on social media a lot, and this would be a great opportunity for you to take social media to another level. So with being a leader, I think you have to be a follower first before you can become a leader. Once you've learned how to follow well, you will also be able to know how to lead well. Back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Patti, for your time is there any last parting thought that you'd like to share with our viewers?
I do. One other thing. I was thinking, because you want to end this on a really good note, that we would actually put these methods into practice. We won't do an evaluation because those take 2 to 3 minutes, but go ahead. Try me on a table topics question. Any question that you want. And by the way, viewers, I have no knowledge of what he's going to ask me. So
That's right.
let's see if these methods actually work.
All right. Well, you mentioned about politics, mentioned about the Democratic debate last night. Now, I don't know if you've seen it or not. I have not seen it at all. But suppose, Patti, that you were the narrator, you were the host of the Democratic debate. What would be the one question that you like to ask our candidates?
Thank you, Roger. Are you timing me? Make sure you
Yeah.
have the timer going. Wonderful. One of the questions that I definitely would like to ask is, what is America going to do about racial profiling? In the last couple of years, maybe 2, 3, or 4, there's been a lot of issue with racism, and I feel like it's even more so involved now than it has been in the past. So as a candidate, you have the opportunity to change our world around. I want to know, Roger, our future president, Roger, our future leader, what are you going to do to help with racial profiling? Are you going to make sure that our law enforcement and our other leaders and everyone else will know what it is to not take advantage of someone else? That all people are created equal, that all people are created with passion, and we don't want to see anyone else die. Yes, we know, we hear it all the time, Black Lives Matter, and we get that. And we also get that all lives matter. But with you coming in as our new leader, the one that we should respect and acknowledge and submit to your authority, I want to know, what are you going to do to make sure that there's no more racial profiling in existence? Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Patti, for the impromptu questions. our impromptu table topic segment of the day. Thank you for your time, and I am sure that in the future we'll come back to you later and we'll discuss some more of how we can push our speaking and leadership ability even further. So thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you, Roger. I appreciate your time.